I am a coroner in Russia, and this was the strangest cause of death in my entire career. Her body was delivered to morgue late at night. Pyotr, my colleague, had an emergency at home, so I was all alone when I received it. The guys who delivered the body winked at me and smiled, "Have fun figuring this one out." So right away, even before opening the body bag, I knew I had an interesting case on my hands. I realized that it was so when I looked at the paperwork. Even though I wasn't very active online and didn't pay attention to any trends, I instantly recognized the name, Elena Frolova, one of the most prominent online personas of Russia. Instagram model, beauty and travel blogger, influencer, those were the labels associated with her. She was the girl all women under 40 wanted to be: successful, beautiful, popular. She probably charged for one Instagram ad post more than I earned in 2 years, and many men would kill for a date with her. And now she was all alone with me. Dead on my table. I felt a tingle of excitement and intrigue. Maybe those aren't the feelings that people usually feel at the prospect of seeing a dead body, but I was a coroner. To me, she was nothing more than a clue I had to solve. Besides, it's not every day that you get a chance to figure out the cause of death of such a prominent celebrity. In a way, it was my way of getting closer to her, same as people feel closer to celebrities when they see them on the streets. I opened the body bag with the same anticipation as the kid who unwraps his New Year gift. The first thing I noticed was that there was no smell. Either she didn't start decomposing yet or... I looked inside and eyebrows disappeared behind my hairlocks. It was not the face I expected to see. She looked like she had gained 30 years before her death, her face covered in numerous wrinkles. Her skin was also dried up and her lips were so dry they cracked in a few places. Then it hit me, she didn't age. She was just severely dehydrated, to a point her body was pretty much mummified. So at first glance, it seemed pretty cut and dry: she died of dehydration. Only. How was that possible? How could her dehydration reach such a point that she became a mummy? Even if she wasn't drinking anything for 5 days, her body wouldn't be shriveled like that. No, it seemed like something drained most of her bodily fluids, or was kept in a stove for days. I had to keep looking. It was then that I noticed something poking from beneath her eyelid. Carefully lifting it up, I saw some thin object sticking out of her shriveled eye, right from the middle of it. The object was long and curved. I expected it to be maybe a few inches long, but it turned out to be almost a foot in length. No doubt it went through her head all the way to the back before colliding with the skull and bending downwards. When I had started pulling it, the end of it was probably reaching all the way down to her chest. The biggest surprise, however, was the nature of that object. I was surprised at first when I realized what it was, but there was no mistake about it. I'd been around enough body parts to know what I was looking at, no matter how impossibly big it was. A human nail. Long, uneven, trying to curl up into a spiral in my hands, with a hint of pink nail polish at the end. I'd seen a nail that long only once, when I was a kid, in a book of Guinness World Records. It belonged to an Indian man who raised his hand and didn't lower it for 26 years. Over that time, his nails grew to be a meter long. But outside of that, never. Curious, I took a look at her own hands and was surprised to see that all of her nails were at least 6 inches long, all curly and uneven, ending with fractures that seemed to indicate that they were even longer before the medical team brought her in. To grow the nails that long, she'd have to spend years not cutting them, and even more, the nails didn't seem to be taken care of. Not exactly how I imagined the nails of a popular beauty blogger. Maybe I was missing something about her? Luckily, I had an opportunity to take a look for myself. I took my smartphone, quickly installed Instagram and, after a bit of searching, found her account. Her last post was 3 days ago. It was a picture of her nails. "Thank you at Kate Burdak for recommending me this wonderful balm for nail growth. It's already working and my broken nail has already regrown in 1 day. My fashion week is going to be saved," was written under the photo. A few photos before that, there was a post with her pouty face, "Broke my nail frown just 5 days before the fashion week." #hardships of a beauty blogger. I was too tired to make sense of it, plus I felt dirty for spying on a dead person's private life, even if she was parading it for everyone to see. So I closed the app, closed the body bag and loaded her into one of the free cells. I was going to figure it all out later, I told myself, and went back to watching the TV show on my laptop. A few hours later, I was distracted from it by the sound that all coroners fear to hear in a morgue, a scratching sound coming from one of the cells. The one where Frolova's body was stored. At first, I froze in place, I remembered the scary stories that the students in medical university liked to scare each other with. Stories about maniacs who were presumably killed only to come back to life at a morgue, or haunted experiences the friend's friend had once. But then I got a grip of myself. They were just dead bodies, nothing else. No matter how many times I'd cut them up, I didn't see a soul emerge from within. Such things weren't real, and if I were to give in to my fears even once, I'd be their victim forever. No, the best course of action was to face the fear head-on. To see that there was nothing supernatural and shame your primal urges to run away from the unknown and unexplored. I opened Froliva's cell and rolled her out. The body bag's shape had changed, but I didn't pay attention to it, zipping it open. Immediately I leapt back in terror. It was one thing to tell yourself that there was nothing scary in the shadows, but now I was face to face with something that I couldn't rationalize. Fear left me no place to fall back to. Nails. Nails everywhere. Spinning into spirals, getting thicker and thinner along their length, piercing in and out of her flesh in their aimless and blind urge to grow. Her body had shriveled even more than before, her skin becoming so thin it looked like a layer of paper on top of her bones. I pulled at the edges of the body bag to take a look at her arms, noting how light her body had become, and surely enough, the nails were hers. They had continued to grow throughout the night, long after her body was dead, draining it of all the nutrients it required. The cause of death was now clear to me. Whatever nail growth bomb she was recommended did its job, but I doubted that she was aware of the price. The moment she used it, she was doomed to see her nails grow uncontrollably, draining all strength from her, leaving her powerless to even call for help. I could almost see her lying on the floor of her room watching the cage of nails grow around her, fighting against it until she could cut them no more. The only thing that I had yet to determine was, did she die before the nail pierced her eye and burrowed into her brain, or after?